Mark chapter 4. And we're going right back on that lake, right back into the storm again. Oh, he's done that before. Yes, I have. But not quite like this. Verse 35, Mark chapter 4. On the same day when evening had come, the same day that he'd been teaching and healing and delivering, on the same day when evening had come, he said to his disciples, let us cross over to the other side. Now when they left the multitude, they took Jesus along in the boat as he was, and other little boats were also with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat so that it was already filling. But Jesus was in the back of the boat, asleep on a pillow. Now listen to this. Here's where we're going with this. They awoke him and said to him, Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? I want to focus on 4 words. Do you not care? Do you not care? Do you not care? Then Jesus arose, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, Peace. I don't think he shouted it. I don't think he screamed it at the top of his lungs. I think he simply spoke it. Peace. Be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. Yes. Who cares is one of the most interesting phrases that I know of. Just with the tone with which it is spoken, it can be determined its intention and its meaning. It can be used to show disdain. Who cares? For a lack of concern. Who cares if the Rangers don't get in the playoffs? I know you do. We're San Francisco and St. Louis right now, Shirley. We in or out? I don't either. Shirley and I fight usually through October, but I guess neither one of us paying attention to it, so we're just root for whoever. We can use it to show a lack of interest or concern about what others may think. It will make us, and sometimes it'll make so-and-so very mad. Who cares? But this phrase also has the ability to shake us to our very core. All we have to do is ask ourselves a question. In times of trouble, in times of heartache, in times of confusion, in times of great mayhem running through your life, whatever it might be, we ask ourselves, who cares about me? This is not showing disdain. This is not showing a lack of interest. This is really a prayer. Who cares about me? My problem. What's going on? Does Jesus care that we're sinking? Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? Hey, we're not going to perish. Why? Jesus was in the boat. Amen. Jesus wasn't going to drown. Oh, that's easy for him to say. He could walk on water. So could they, if they just put a little faith into it. The disciples right here have a who cares moment. They have a who cares moment. They are convinced that the boat that they are in is going down. If they had cell phones, they would have been calling or texting their relatives or loved ones to say, goodbye. This is it. This is the big one, Elizabeth. I'm coming home to see you, honey. Finally, after everything else is exhausted, they turn to Jesus, who just happened to be asleep in the boat. And Jesus is awakened, and he saw the look of fear in the eyes of his followers, and they make the statement, don't you care that we're about to die? Who cares? This is a major who cares moment. We all have it. If we would just simply admit it, we all have it. From the smallest of us to the oldest of us to the youngest of us, whatever. We all have it. Even when Jesus is in your boat, we can still have who cares moments. Now, I didn't say who cares lives. I said moments. The simple truth is that you can have Jesus on board your life. He can be leading your life, directing your life. You can be walking and talking with Jesus. You can be following in His footsteps. And you can end up still having a day, a week, a month, maybe a year to where you are convinced that no one, not even Jesus, cares about what's going on in your life. It may be a time where your health is failing. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands because I can look around here and about every hand in here is going to go up. Except some of these real young ones, man, they don't have a care in the world. So, Pastor, you concerned about your health? With both hands. I'm facing 2 more back surgeries. Do I want to have them? No. Some of you are facing surgery. Do you want to have it? No. Have you prayed about it? Asked Jesus to take it away? Yes, but I guess He doesn't care. Because He's not done anything about it. You're having a who cares moment. Your health may be failing. Or you might be doing everything you know to do to find healing for your body, healing for your life, healing for your family. You're eating better, you're exercising, you're taking your medicine, but still you're at your wits' end. Doesn't anyone care? Maybe you cut everything non-essential out of your lives and you're still coming up short. You ever had too much month at the end of the money? Every month. Some are crushed because of their finances. Some are torn down because of their job situation. The church, one of the prayers I left out this morning that I meant to get in there, we have several people needing jobs. Some of you have interviews this week. They need jobs. We need to pray for them to have jobs. You hear me? We need to pray for these people to get jobs. Pastor, you just want more tithes in church. I want them to be gainfully employed, that they feel productive, that they can earn their own money, pay their own way, pay their bills, and stand up on their own feet and live the life God wants them to live. You hear me? Thank you. Some of us got family problems. I used to say if you've got children, you've got problems. If you've got family, you've got problems.
Bye.
That's right. He's gone. He said bye. He don't have family problems. He's leading the parade.
He has a problem.
All these things, any of these things, even something I didn't mention, might be enough to just simply crush you until you finally cry out, does anyone really care? I've done my best. I have believed, I have prayed, I have wept, I have fasted, and I still get no answer for my problems. My health is broken. My bondage is stronger than ever. My marriage is not getting better. My family is still a mess. And even with Jesus on board, we can all still have moments where we're not sure that anyone really cares about us. Even Jesus. I want you to know that even in those who cares moments, Jesus cares. Everybody say it. Jesus cares. The disciples cry out, don't you even care that we're about to perish? There's some things you need to know about these who cares moments. Do not mistake a lack of immediate response with a lack of care or concern. Jesus' lack of immediate response does not mean a lack of care. He was asleep. Why? What did he say? Let us go to the other side. He didn't say let us go to the middle and drown. Let us go to the middle and be beaten back by the storm. He said let us go to the other side. That means Jesus is going to the other side. If God said it, He meant it. He's going to get it done. All these guys had to do was write it out in faith and they would make it through it. In fact, his lack of the expected response reveals more about us than it does about him. It reveals more about our faith. We all have expected responses. Jesus, I expect you to bail me out of my trouble now. I expect you to heal me now. I expect you to turn my bank account around now. I expect you to step in, save my relationship, my marriage, my health, my dreams, now. Well, Jesus can. But he doesn't always respond in that manner. Our problem is we often equate the lack of a miracle, the lack of communication, the lack of some provision on Jesus' part with a lack of interest, a lack of love, or a lack of care on his part. Don't misunderstand me. There's some people who can sleep through storms no matter what they are because they don't care. They simply do not care about you. They don't care about their situation, so they can just lay down and go to sleep. But others, through the storms, others can sleep through the storms because they are confident in the outcome. They know that even in the storm, Jesus is in that boat.
Yes.
That means he's in your life.
Yes.
When I say boat, you put life. He's in your life. So even in the midst of a storm, you can lay down peacefully. You ought to be able to sleep, rest. Why? Jesus is in your life.
Amen.
If Jesus is in your life, and he said, we're going to the other side, you're going to the other side. You may feel, well, there's times when we need help praying through something. And we don't see anybody running to us physically. I just want to pray with you. No, they don't do that. Nobody's coming, just said, God told me to pray for you. But here they all were in the boat all the time with Jesus. And Jesus cares. Sailing with you in your boat and fighting the storm for you. For you. Now your storm may be sent to scare you, but it shouldn't frighten you. Because we ought to be convinced of the outcome. We ought to believe in our victory. And our victory is Jesus.
That's right.
You know that our case of nerves never makes Jesus nervous. You don't read anywhere that when Jesus was even carrying his cross up the hill, and he got to the point that he'd been beaten and battered so terribly that his body refused to go another mile. His physical body had worn out. You don't say, I need a Xanax, some Prozac, something. I got to get through this. He knew he was going to make it through.
Amen.
He knew it was going to be rough.
Yes.
But he knew the outcome. He was going to die.
Yep.
He was going to be buried. And in 3 days, he was going to rise again. He knew that. When we get in trouble, we want Jesus to be as nervous as we are. I don't. I want him to be the calming influence of my life. I want him to be the one I can look at and say, he's not scared, I'm not scared.
Amen.
He is the original giant killer. He is the original one who can climb or smash mountains down into the foothills. He is the one that can part the oceans of trouble that are in our way and make dry ground travel for each and every one of us. His name is Jesus, and he's not scared about anything. Jesus' boat choice should comfort us. Verse 36, and when they had left the multitude, they took Jesus along in the boat as he was, and the other little boats. See, there wasn't just one boat. There were all kinds of little boats going with it. They were going to the same place. Other people were in this storm also. You just don't hear much about them because they didn't write the book. But you're not only, what I'm telling you is you're not the only boat getting rocked. You're not the only boat getting storm tossed.
Amen.
The person sitting right next to you may have more trouble than you do. You just don't know it because they haven't said anything.
Yes.
It may bring some comfort to you just to know that there are several people around you who are going through a storm even greater than your storm.
Yes.
Do they look nervous? No, they look sleepy to me. Jesus could have been in any of the boats, but he was in this particular one. Why? That's where the disciples were, the ones he needed to teach the most. Where does he need to be this morning? In there, right here, in this boat. Because we are the disciples now that he needs to teach as we go out and witness the gospel to whomsoever
Yes.
that we find. Now, I said I wanted to talk to you about somebody in the church. And I do this with all love, respect, and the greatest amount of candor that I can muster. It was my great privilege yesterday, and one of the hardest things I've done in a long time. Sean and Claudia Graveser brought John down to talk to me. John was scared. And I told him he had every right to be scared. There was nothing wrong with being scared as long as Jesus was with him. And you'd be surprised what kind of questions a 13-year-old can drum up in their heads. He said, there's some things I want to know. I said, okay, I'm ready for anything. I know the genealogy of this one. I know what these Hebrew words mean. He says, how do you know the Bible is real? That's not what he's supposed to ask. He did. How do you know it's real? You can't just sit there and explain to a boy in that kind of condition, and John's condition is perilous at best. You can't just say, faith. That makes no sense. I told him, I don't know. I said, I can't explain it. I said, but I know I believe it.
Amen.
I said, I can't tell you that it's, just give you a definitive answer. I didn't say definitive. I said, I can't give you an answer that you will understand. I said, I can give you all kinds of big fancy words and things like that. I said, but I believe that the Bible is the inspired Word of God. He said, did man write it or did God write it? I said, got one I can answer. Men wrote it down through the inspiration that the Spirit of God put upon them.
Yes, yes, yes.
But we got past that one. And they had told him the night before the prognosis. He said, I'm probably going to die. I lost it. I was going to. He said, if I die, will I be able to walk and see in heaven? I thought, praise the Lord, I got another question I can answer. Yes. The Bible says there will be no sickness, there will be no sorrow, there will be no pain, there will be no crying, and God shall wipe away every tear. He was breaking my heart. And he said, and he looked at me and he said, I'm not afraid of dying. He said, but I'm the youngest in the family. I ought to be the one around the longest to take care of Mom and Dad. I lost it again. I was gone. That was it. And I'm trying to keep going, talking to him without showing a whole lot of emotion, but I couldn't. Claudia busted out, Sean busted out, I did too. In fact, John was the only one. He's trying to figure out what we're all crying about. But when he told me, he said, I'm probably going to die. And he said, well, what's going to happen to Mom and Dad? Who's going to take care of them? He was wondering, who cared? I said, God's got you. The same Jesus that's got you has them in his hand.
Amen.
And like I told you, he wanted to know, could he run? Could he play? Could he see? Could he talk? Because these are the things that if he lives, he will probably lose. All those abilities. He said, I want to be able to do that in heaven. He said, then he asked me, he said, will I know it? He said, I don't want to go to heaven alone. Will I know anybody there? I said, hey, here's the great thing. you will know everybody there. And everybody there will know you. And he said, well, I don't know what happens from this life to the next one. He said, how do you, my word, what's the transition? He didn't use the word transition. He said, I don't know how long it takes, and I worry about that part of it, from this world to that world. I said, bat your eyes. He went, I said, there you are, you're in heaven. Amen. I believe that Paul said to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Even at the rapture of the church, Paul said, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. This boy was braver than anybody I believe I've ever met. Said, of course, I'm not really looking forward to this. I said, I'm not either. But he knew he was in a storm-tossed boat and in a lot of trouble. And the word I had to tell him was the word that everybody needs to know. Jesus cares. Amen. And he is with you in that boat. So whatever storm you're facing, whatever trial, whatever trouble you're facing, Jesus is with you. Jesus is there. If you die, you go to heaven. If you're saved, if you are forgiven of your sins. John said, how's that happen? I said, we ask for forgiveness. I said, John, you're old enough now that have you ever asked God for forgiveness? He said, no. I don't know if the boy even knows what sin is. He's been sick for so long. He hadn't really had much time to do very much, but he was born a sinner. I explained to him that we all were sinners. We were born that way. He said, that sorry old snake. God, I'll send you all kinds of trouble. I said, that's exactly right. He said, that's what Dad told me last night. He said, it's that snake's fault. I said, they're two stupid people. He laughed about that. But that's really what happened. They had one rule, and they couldn't follow it. Right. One rule. Right. But I don't want this to be morbid and sound morbid all the time, because it ended up, John's whole countenance changed. We got through, he came in sad, barely moving, crying, and he left with a spring in his step. Not anything I did. I didn't do anything. I didn't do a thing. I just listened to him and tried my best to explain it in simple terms that he could understand. You don't have to use some great theological term. You don't have to know all the Greek and Hebrew in the world. All you got to believe is Jesus cares. Right. And even when it seems like we are about to perish or our boat's about to sink, Jesus cares. And he said, what happens when I get to heaven? I said, you meet Jesus. First thing. Praise the Lord. Calvin picked up and said, that might be kind of cool. They're kind of cool. You got that right. I said, and he'll welcome you in. And I made a deal with him. I said, there's no guarantee that it's going to happen this way. I said, I may die last night, going home in a car wreck. I said, I'll make a deal with you. If I go first, I'll meet you at the gate when your time comes. I said, everybody's got a time. Young or old, everybody's got a time. I said, I'll meet you at the gate. I said, if you go first, you be looking for me. I said, I'll be the one barely scraping through, trying to get in. He said, okay. He said, if I'm there first, I'll wait on you. He's got Jesus in his boat, and he's young enough to believe it. There's no doubt in his mind. He's not worried about it. He's worried about mom and dad. Praise the Lord for a childlike faith. It's the same type of faith we all ought to have. We're not going to perish. God has offered us everlasting life. To leave this world is to do nothing more than go to heaven and be with Jesus forever and ever and ever and ever. Praise the Lord. Jesus is riding in your boat. He said, well, I've got problems in my life. No, John's got problems in his life. Everything else kind of pales in comparison.
Amen. Amen.
And I know I'm not downgrading anybody. I'm not being mean-spirited here. Your problems are serious. I know that. I believe that. I'm not taking that away from you. But he's got a prognosis that he's going to know the answer to within the next 30 days.
Yes.
If he's home in 30 days,
Yes.
it's just a matter of time. And you know something great? I didn't tell John this, but I'll tell you because you're able to understand it. Even with all of our shortcomings and all of our problems, Jesus still is in our boat. And he cares, and he still speaks to our storm.
Yes, he does.
I believe he spoke to John yesterday, not through me. I didn't do anything. He figured it out by himself. But he asked me, that's the toughest question I've ever been asked. In all these years, almost 40 years doing this. How do you know it's real? And I've been asked that by adults. And you can talk about faith and things like that with adults. You can't do that with a child. But I believe
Yes.
that to be absent from this body is to be present with the Lord. And I believe, as they used to say, these storms didn't come to stay in our lives. They came to pass in our lives. They say when Jesus said, peace, be still, that storm calmed down and it calmed down in a hurry. Jesus cares. He cares about your life. He cares about what you're going through. And you may think it's the worst storm imaginable, but he still cares, and he will get you through it. You may have to ride some rocky waves. You may have to go through some up and down and be seasick for a while. But God will get you through it, and if he said we're going to the other side, he will get you there.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
Jesus can speak to a storm that nobody else can do. Well, Satan's not going to help you. Jesus will. Who in your life cares so much that they will stand up and take authority over your storm? Nobody that I know of except Jesus. You better get someone like that on board your boat.
Amen.
And his name is
Jesus.
But there's a correct way to feel. There is a correct way to feel. John found it. He found it all by himself. Jesus recognized that when they saw the storm that his disciples were afraid. And Jesus steps up, he calms the storm, and what happens to him then? He calms the storm. Let me read the rest of this to you. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But Jesus said to them, why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? And they feared exceedingly. In other words, now they really get scared. They're terrified now and said to one another, who can this be that even the wind and sea obey him? His name's Jesus, and he is the Son of God. Well, let me tell you something, church. They was afraid of the storm. Now they're afraid of Jesus. They were dumber than a sack full of hammers. They got him up, said, don't you care? Yes, I care. Peace, be still. Oh, this is worse than the storm. Who's this guy in our boat? His name is Jesus. He is the Son of God, and he's the Savior of each and every one of us who believe that he came to this world to live and die for our sins. It's only when the wind ceased that they really got scared. They really got terrified. They were shaking more about the solution than they were the situation. That's the trouble with many of us. Some of us are more afraid of the answer God might give us than we are of the problem. Because the answer might require us to change something or to do something differently. It might require us to work at it a little bit. Work! You used a 4-letter word in church. You ought not to do that. That's a nasty word. I realize it is. Nobody likes it, but we all have to do it.
Right?
And it will always require effort. Always. All right. Simple prayer. God, help me lose weight. While you're standing there with a box of Oreos, pop them in your mouth like Pez. For those of you who know what Pez is. Or why do we buy a box of Tic Tacs breath fresheners? Then we eat the whole box. How orange do you want your mouth to be? Snuggled up to your honey's baby. Ooh. You swallow a whole orange tree? You want to lose weight, you have to work at it. You pray all day, but you got the ones that got to keep your mouth shut. Marcia sent me a deal on text a couple of weeks ago. The neatest things I ever saw said lip balm for dieters. It was super glue. It works. God help me get out of debt, but I don't want to quit spending. That won't work. It won't work. God make me make my marriage better. Well, are you trying to be a better husband? Are you trying to be a better wife? Make my relationship with someone better. Are you trying to be better? No, I'm asking God to do it all. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Some are so afraid of being alone that they're staying in an unhealthy, maybe even an abusive relationship. Some are afraid of their financial situation and they're terrified of having to cut back on their luxuries. Well, or live on a budget. A budget. I got to have a budget. Or you can be like Teresa and myself. You don't have any money. You don't have a budget.
That's right. Right.
Because you don't need it. Do we have enough biting bologna and bread? Yep, that's all we got. That's all we need. I'm convinced of that. You get bologna and bread, you can live anywhere, under any tree. You'll be all right. It may be that your storm will not stop until you're willing to embrace the solution. You have to become more afraid of staying the same than you are of the price required to find change. Jesus is the solution. John talked about that yesterday. If we'll just trust Him and let Him in our boat, keep sailing, we'll get to the other side. And eventually, He'll speak peace to the storm, and the storm will cease. The storm will cease. Trust Jesus. Trust Jesus. Through life, we often feel alone, storm-tossed, terrified, without hope, and our natural instinct crawls up inside us and says, who cares? Who cares about me? Everybody. Jesus cares. Say it with me. Jesus cares. Jesus may not do what you thought He should do or when He should do it. But even that doesn't mean He does not care.
Right.
You have to remember that Jesus has the ability, the authority, and the power to deal with your storm. Your storm on an individual basis. He's not just God of all, He's also your God, your Savior, your healer, your deliverer. Make it personal.
Yes.
We sing that song, for He is Lord, He's our Lord.
Yes, yes.
He's my Lord.
Yes.
Make it personal. We usually do that. Put a tag on it. Make it my Lord. You're not alone in your storm. You're not alone. And your storm does have an end. There is another side and other side to your journey. Victory will come.
Amen.
And that victory's named Jesus.
Hallelujah.
And knowing that is a great and wonderful. Pray with